All right, hey everybody, my name is Imp, and I'm going to be walking you through how to set up and then speedrun Backlife, which is a reverse Half-Life mod where you start in Lambda Core and then work your way back to the beginning of Inbound. This guide is going to be intended for people who are already very familiar with Half-Life 1 speedrunning, ideally somebody who's already a pretty good runner of Half-Life, or at least understands all the basics, because I am not going to be spending the time teaching you how to object boost or bunny hop. So if those things are things you can't do already, I suggest checking out the regular Half-Life 1 resources, as I don't have the will or want to teach you how to do that. So we're going to start here just with the setup. In the next video, we'll talk about where some strategies are different and the couple of mechanics that you Half-Life runners are probably not familiar with, and then we'll get into the actual run itself. So the things you're going to need, it's just three things to really get the ball rolling here. You're going to need the actual Backlife mod. Just grab the latest version off of ModDB. The links will be in the description, of course. Currently, that's version 1.2. You are also going to need the Goldsrc Package 1.36. We're using this older version because this is the last version of Steam Pipe Half-Life. I think it's pre-Steam Pipe Half-Life, actually. And that just is basically the same thing as our normal Steam Half-Life, but it does not have the fix for NPC FPS abuses, and we want to be able to do those low frame rate NPC abuses. And then also the splits, which again, I will provide the link to. So go ahead, get those downloaded, get those where you need them. I'm not going to go and do that because, of course, I did it already. Once you've got everything downloaded, of course, you're also going to need a copy of Half-Life on Steam. So make sure you've got, you own it. You should by now, again, if you're a runner. But if you don't, make sure you've got that copy of it on Steam. Next up, all you need to do is open that Goldsrc Package 1.36, and before we set up anything at all in this, we're going to update BunnyMod XT. The reason for that is it's going to expose us to a lot of the modern features of BunnyMod, but also for any speedruns on the speedrun.com leaderboard under the Half-Life umbrella, you need to be running on the most modern version of BunnyMod XT. So simply open the folder, go to the BunnyMod XT folder, and run update.bat. Should check for BXT updates for you, and then download that new .dll. If you've got that, then you're ready to go. Next up, what we're going to do is open the .rar file you'll download from ModDB called Backlife version whatever version, and then we're just going to take that Backlife folder out of the archive and drop that right here into our Half-Life folder in the Goldsrc package. Before we make the batch file, you're also going to want to set up your userconfig file. I'm just going to use the one I already have set up for running. I will also provide a link or a paste bin for my config there, but I recommend just copying your config over from your normal scriptless Half-Life 1 runs. A couple things to note about that config, however. Because this is a Steam version of the run, any FPS binds should be subtracted by 0.5 from whatever their normal WON counterpart would be. So, I run at 100 FPS. I imagine the category is going to stay with a cap of 100 FPS. So you'll need to drop your max down to 99.5. And everywhere else, like your 20 FPS bind, all that stuff, you'll want to drop by 0.5. It looks like I didn't do it everywhere. It's not super relevant, but it'll keep that annoying pop-up from being there. I think the most important one is on that 99.5 for the 100. The other thing you want to make sure you drop into your user config is bxt_bhopcap0. This is a scriptless run with no bhop cap on Steam version, so you need to include that so you're not capped on your bunny hops. But once your user config is in place, you can keep most of your other stuff the same. You might want to change your crowbar bind to something else because you don't get the crowbar till the very end of the run. But other than that, everything else can stay pretty much the same from your typical HL1 user config. So you're going to drop that into your Backlife folder. You should see it in there. And then all we need to do now is grab one of our .batch files. I recommend using the opposingforce.bat, not WON, or the blueshift.bat. Just duplicate it, copy paste, rename it to backlife.bat. or I'll do like this, backlife, and then edit it with your favorite way of editing batch files. Mine is just going to be using Notepad++, but you can rename it to a .txt and edit it with Notepad. Once you've got that BAT open, you're just going to go to this third line here where it says -game, and you're going to change this from gearbox to backlife. And then save that. And what that's going to do is go ahead and open the executable for the game for us, and it's also going to run our bunny mod injector and get us BXT in there. And once the batch file's ready, all you need to do to get the run up and going is open your splits, which I've got off screen. I'm not going to keep them on the whole time, but of course open your splits. Before we move on from the splits here, one thing that I want you to verify, it should be set up if you downloaded my splits, but if you're working with somebody else's or for some reason this didn't transfer, you're going to right click on your splits, go to settings, or I'm sorry, not settings, edit splits. And in the splits editor, you should see the game time and auto splitting available with Yalter's tag on it. If you've got that, that's great. If you don't, make sure your game name is set to Half-Life with the dash. It should automatically add that for you, and then I just throw backwards mod into the run category. And then the other aspect of this is in settings, you want to make sure that split on Half-Life chapters is unchecked, and then the following maps are listed here in the split on following maps section, as well as, of course, the check on split on following maps. So I'll see if I can provide a paste bin or something with the maps that are relevant here. If for some reason they're not in your live split, you just have one entry for each of these maps, and then that'll keep live split in check. But once you've got all of that, and again, you're welcome to keep your splits open. I'm just going to close mine. Once all that's there, just open the .batch file, and we should see the game open. And what you want to do too, and of course you'll see the backwards lambda, and the whole thing will be flipped if you're in the right one. We want to make sure bunny mod is injected, so just go in and do bxt_, and you should see all those. And then what I usually have to do is manually execute my user config. So every time I open the game, I just say exec userconfig.cfg. That you should be able to ignore that couldn't exec one.cfg. You can verify that it worked by going to bxt bhopcap. If bhopcap 0 is there, then you know that your user config is ready to go. And of course, you can verify any other bind to make sure that your stuff's good. So yeah, once you're in the game, you're ready to go. And again, in the next one, we're going to talk about some of the specific strategies to this game before we get into the actual route.